Hi, my name is Emma Phillip, and today I will be talking about the adverse impacts of tourism and how it affects both the native peoples of Hawaii and the Everest region in Nepal. So, for some background on each of these cultures that I will be comparing, starting with the native Hawaiians, today there are over 300,000 indigenous people living in Hawaii, and historically they have been dependent on fishing and gathering most of their resources from the ocean. Central to their beliefs is a respect for nature and striving for harmony between humans and their natural surroundings. However, in 1893, they had their monarchy overthrown by a U.S.-backed coup, and today, tourism is a huge industry in Hawaii. Then, the native people of the Everest region are called the Sherwa, and although they are indigenous to Nepal, they only migrated to the Everest region about 500 years ago. They are agro-pastoralists, meaning that they rely on both agriculture and herding yak and cows. And religiously, many Sherwa are Tibetan Buddhists. So, I will be going over some of the ways tourism can affect the places that are being visited. Firstly, it can have a huge impact on the local people themselves, especially on their traditions and ways of life. For regions that are tourism heavy, much is changed in order to cater to these visitors. Tourism can also have a big effect on the environment, and often the native species of plants and animals will be harmed or dwindle in numbers entirely. The increased amount of people in these areas is often connected with more pollution and litter. And of course, tourism has a huge impact on the local economy. Oftentimes, careers are made in order to cater to these tourists, whether that be building hotels, serving as a tour guide, or selling souvenirs. Unfortunately, in Hawaii, tourism has had many negative impacts, one of these being the loss of land that is of cultural or spiritual significance to the native Hawaiians. For example, a condo development called Kenaloa was built on 22 acres of Hawaiian burial ground. Many resorts and hotels are also built on land that is sacred to the Hawaiians. Many native Hawaiians have found that the ever-increasing amounts of development is impeding on their ability to follow traditional livelihoods, such as fishing or gathering medicine. This can lead to feeling that it is hard to find the same purpose in life. Native Hawaiian men have the highest rate of suicide in the country. And with the loss of many traditional jobs, many Hawaiians turn to what is known as hula marketing, which is defined as the sale of Hawaiian culture. Jobs in this industry are often low-paying, but many have few choice. The tourism industry, mainly the developments of resorts and new infrastructure, has had a huge impact on the environment. Around 60% of native species of animals and plants have become endangered due to the loss of habitat. Mount Everest was claimed as a British monument in the early 1900s, despite not belonging to Britain. Nepal opened its borders in 1951, and by the 60s, there was a tourism boom in the area, with tourists mainly arriving from Europe and North America. By the late 70s, tourists at any given time would outnumber the local Sherwa population. Today, tourism is a cornerstone of the Sherwa economy, but it hasn't been without its negative effects. As more and more of the younger generation seek out careers guiding and helping tourists, traditional spiritual knowledge is being lost. Values such as the taboo of hunting or harming living plants are being ignored in order to meet the demands of supporting all the extra tourists in the area. Large areas are being deforested in order to build hotels and places for the travelers to stay. Waste management is also a huge issue. Each visitor leaves on average 6.5 pounds of waste on the mountain, including human waste and corpses. Due to the harsh conditions, there are no good systems in place for removing waste. So, comparing and contrasting these two cultures. Some similarities include that many of the native population have been pressured to forego their traditional careers and instead take jobs in the tourism industry. And in both Hawaii and Nepal, there have been massive environmental impacts due to developments. And sacred land in both areas is often built upon in order to lodge all the people who come to visit. And then pollution and litter has increased in a way that is directly proportional to the amount of tourism in both areas. And of course, there are also major differences. In Hawaii, people will come for extended leisurely stays, while in Everest, people will usually only stay for a few days, usually with the goal of intensive hiking. In Hawaii, the land is not controlled by the native people. But on Everest, the Sherwa people are directly in control of their own tourism industry. As a result, the Sherwa people tend to be more welcoming of tourists. And then this is an article about the wildfires that happened this year in Hawaii, and how many of the native Hawaiians were begging for people to stop visiting, saying that they could barely sustain their own people. So, in conclusion, tourism has huge impacts on the native peoples who are having their homes visited and taken advantage of, and the impacts of this can be social, environmental, and economical. And there are many similarities between the native Hawaiians and the Sherwa people in how tourism affects them. And then here are my citations. Thank you.